Good morning, everyone. Last week, one of the panelists suggested that I do something on smoke inhalation, and I thought it was a really great idea. Many of us did experience some acute or immediate effects from the smoke inhalation. Maybe it was irritated eyes, maybe it was a sore throat. We saw a lot of people who were having running noses, that type of stuff. For me, the odor was pretty nauseating. It caused a lot of anxiety, fear, sadness, and that type of stuff in many people. Unfortunately, there was a lot of people that lost their homes, and that's extremely devastating. I really want to focus today on just what I can offer, which is what are some of the health effects of smoke inhalation and what can we do to combat them. The smoke that is released from forest fires is a mixture of particles and chemicals. All smoke contains carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and particulate matter or soot. And depending on what is burned, we also start to see chemicals such as dioxins, formaldehyde, and heavy metals. And so I really thought, as I was trying to approach this lecture, wanted to address, okay, what does carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide do in the body? We know that it decreases our ability to oxygenate. I wanted to look at the particulate matter, how that might cause lung damage, and then I wanted to look at what do we need to do to detox from heavy metals and toxins, that type of stuff. Unfortunately, it was really hard to find concrete studies examining the long-term effects of smoke inhalation. We do know that there are temporary changes in lung function, which happen with acute exposure, right? We see difficulty in breathing, asthma, coughing, that type of stuff. We know that those two agents that affect us in smoke are the carbon dioxide and the carbon monoxide and those small particles. Carbon monoxide actually binds to the hemoglobin molecule. Hemoglobin is what's on our red blood cells. Oxygen binds to that hemoglobin, and then as you know, your blood's traveling throughout the body, it's helping to oxygenate your tissues and your organs. When carbon monoxide is bound to that hemoglobin, oxygen can't bind. So we start to see the effects of not getting enough oxygen to those tissues, which causes not only oxidative damage, but we see, the long-term effects, with cardiovascular disease and that type of stuff. There are techniques for clearing carbon monoxide from your lungs. Steam therapy, steam inhalation is really good. We've been having, these little diffusers going throughout the house, but we also during the time had big pots of water with essential oils in them, and that really helped to kind of really thin the air. It was pretty obvious when they were going, but we know that steam helps to open up the airways, loosen mucus, that type of stuff. Controlled coughing is really good. Controlled coughing is when you take both your arms and you squeeze your stomach, and squeeze as tight as you can, and then you want to lean forward, breathe in, and then breathe out all the way. And then you want to do like 2 or 3 just gentle little coughs, and that helps bring up mucus and crap from the tissues. Doing trying to help remove the mucus from your lungs by draining them, and that is you want to do like a tilt, and so your head's down here, your hips would be up here, maybe underneath a pillow. You want to do that prone, you want to do that supine, and you want to do it on both sides where you're breathing in and exhaling, but you want to do it 1 to 2 breaths. So how long ever you inhale, let's say 5 counts, you want to be exhaling 10 counts. So a 1 to 2 breath, and you want to do that a couple times in all 4 of those positions. That helps drain mucus. Exercise is extremely important. It increases your oxygen demand, and improves your circulation. And so then your body's more efficient at removing those excess pollutants like carbon dioxide. Percussions are really wonderful. Percussions are, let's say this is your back. It would be hard to do, so you need to show someone. And you form this little little hollow pocket, and you kind of along the back, all through where your lungs are, right, which are going to be almost the very tip, and all the way down your rib cage, just doing these this kind of tapping percussion. That helps break up those mucus bonds, loosen up that mucus so you can breathe better. We do know that, sorry, anti-inflammatory foods are really good. So those anti-inflammatory foods are going to be ginger, turmeric, cherries, blueberries, that type of stuff. But your antioxidants are extremely important during this time. Green tea is a really good antioxidant. There was a good study done over 1,000 adults taking green tea in Korea. Seoul is one of the worst air pollutant cities. In fact, about 16% of their deaths are the result of air pollution. And so there was a long-term study on 1,000 adults in Korea, and they found that Koreans who drank more than 2 cups of green tea a day had better lung function than their counterparts. So those are some good ways of clearing out carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide. But once exposure stops from the smoke inhalation, then the carbon monoxide pretty much dissipates within a couple of days. So then the question is, what happens with those small, fine particles? Those small particles can travel really deep down into the lung tissue and affect your respiratory tract. And we know that long-term exposure to these fine particles is what's associated with cardiovascular disease and increased in mortality, especially in people who are living in high polluted areas. The long-term studies show a lot of chronic bronchitis, reduced lung function, lung cancer, cardiovascular disease, that type of stuff. I really try to approach this by looking at, okay, what happens with firefighters who are exposed to smoke frequently, and what are their long-term effects? The studies are really inconclusive about and inconsistent of what their long-term damage is. I then looked at smoke jumpers. I have to say, I feel extremely bad for smoke jumpers. They're really not well taken care of. They don't wear masks generally. Sometimes it's a bandana. And so those particles that get in the lung tissue, there's no filter, nothing. And they all were talking about this kind of camp crud. So just coughing up, really gross stuff from their lungs. But there's really not been any long-term studies. So I do have to say, I don't think what we were exposed to in Portland would be considered long-term exposure. So the information I'm giving you, I think, would be more about preventative stuff. So I'm kind of approaching this as, what can I do as an ND? Well, one key principle of naturopathic medicine is just to help facilitate the body to heal itself. We believe that the bodies have a natural ability to heal themselves, and as physicians, we just need to help clear that pathway. Lungs themselves are really great at self-cleaning. They're considered self-cleaning organs, so that they naturally can heal themselves once exposure stops. Now, the question is, does that particular matter get out once the air cleans itself? And I'm not sure if there is a lot of particulate matter deep down in that lung tissue that's potentially causing dysfunction and destruction, then I kind of want to nurture the lungs to expel those toxins. So then I kind of approach this, okay, well, what did I do with my patients who have some lung damage from asthma, chronic bronchitis, COPD, that type of stuff? Well, I frequently recommend desiccated lung tissue for those patients as part of their treatment plan. Native Americans and other ancestral healers believe that eating the organs from a healthy animal would strengthen and support the corresponding organs in the human body. You fast forward to modern day, hypothyroidism was treated with desiccated thyroid gland. Still to this day, I prefer desiccated thyroid gland for patients who are hypothyroid. Many of you who might be listening to this have probably been on Armour Thyroid or Nature Thyroid or something like that. But the idea is that the desiccated lung tissue would provide all those amino acids, those peptides, those enzymes that are really specific for lung tissue, and that they also contain a molecular blueprint or a DNA that helps to rebuild and repair that healthy lung tissue. Plus, they're pretty much risk-free, right? It's like going to the store and ordering from your butcher bovine lung and eating that. So I like that as part of a treatment plan. I would also really suggest, anti-inflammatory foods and herbs and antioxidants. We know that smoke inhalation causes oxidative damage. So those antioxidants are really important to help repair that tissue. N-acetylcysteine is a really good choice. I love that one. Vitamin C, glutathione, B vitamins. You know, for someone who is really at risk, I might do an IV of those things. But there's a lot of great products that have all of that stuff in it. I would recommend steam inhalations with herbs that we know have an affinity for lung. That would be like eucalyptus. Eucalyptus is really good. It's a bronchodilator. It helps break up congestion. It helps with inflammation. It helps stimulate the immune system. Thyme, oregano, peppermint, mullein, those are all really wonderful as well. There's actually been some studies on thyme and ginseng that helps people, that have been shown to help people with COPD. COPD is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It helped improve lung function. Curcumin is really great. That's what's in turmeric. Helps fight oxidative stress, inflammation, that type of stuff. Red sage would be another one. So all in all, to address those things that I was talking about, the oxidative damage would be key. Repairing lung tissue would be key. And so I would probably, if someone came to me and said, I want to do whatever I can preventatively now that I've been exposed, I would recommend a powerful antioxidant. I would recommend the desiccated lung tissue. I would talk about steam inhalations or have like a diffuser going on in your home. And I would say exercise. Standard Process is the company that I use for the desiccated lung tissue. It's called pneumotropin. I really do love that. I would probably recommend, they also carry a hemp oil with omegas. Hemp is a really powerful antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, plus they add the omega-3s to it. They also make something called Boneffect, which has all those herbs I was talking about, thyme, ginger, and other licorice that help support the normal cough reflex, improve mucus flow, they're anti-inflammatory and that type of stuff. The problem with the Standard Process is that they sell only to physicians, and I actually don't think it's a problem. I think it's kind of wonderful because they're really making sure that people are being, evaluated to be, is this a product that's good for them? There's no is there any potential side effects or whatnot? But my point is that if any of you are interested in that, you are going to have to contact me directly. And basically, I give you a code, a link, so that you can order directly from them and it can ship to you. Does anyone have any questions? Go ahead and unmute yourself or type it in the chat box or put it in the Q&A. Here's a question. How and when does one know if they got long-term effects from very unhealthy and hazardous air that they had to work in, outdoors and mostly indoors, for about 4 days? Unfortunately, we wouldn't know the long-term damage until a few years from now, right? And we'll probably start with a chest x-ray and, we would maybe do an MRI, but a chest x-ray would be first. And we wouldn't know that for a few years. Oxidative damage is going to kind of take its time. So I would say if you are having effects, let's say a month from now, you're still coughing up crud, you have shortness of breath, maybe you have chronic bronchitis, that type of stuff, then I would definitely see a specialist and get some imaging and potentially some blood work done, that type of stuff. You're welcome. Anybody else? Nothing? Okie dokie. Well, I guess I'll call it then. Thank you all for attending. I appreciate it. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week. I am kind of playing with the idea of maybe doing a guided detox or kind of a guided detox restart program for anyone that's interested. I think that'd be kind of fun to do as a group, and it's a perfect time where we could all meet on Zoom or whatnot and support each other and talk about what's working and what's not working. But I haven't looked for that. That might be happening in the next month or so. Anything before I sign off? Nope. Okay. Thank you everyone for attending. Really appreciate it. Bye.